Namaste, angels. This is the weekly love reading for the period of July 5th through July 11th. We're going to get right into it, beginning with just a couple of notes from the planetary calendar. On July 5th at 12:44 a.m., the full moon and penumbral lunar eclipse, 13 degrees Capricorn, occurs. On July 7th at 12:03 a.m., Ceres, the asteroid, goes retrograde, 12 degrees Pisces. And then the last day for which this reading is July 11th at 5:09 p.m., Chiron, the asteroid, the wounded healer, goes retrograde as well, 9 degrees Aries. And I talk more in detail about those in the general reading, of course, and you can check that out there. With the dice, we're beginning with it's 50-50. It could be about balance, the need for balance. All work and no play makes Jack a dull boy, Jill a dull girl. You need balance in your relationships. You need balance in your own life, between your work and the amount of nurturing that you give yourself. And nurturing is going to be very, very important right now because of that Ceres retrograde. Ceres is like the mother energy, similar to the sign of Cancer, right? That's another mother energy as well. So we have a lot of that happening. Capricorn is the opposite axis of the sign of Cancer, and there's a lot of activity there as well. So all of these themes of like parents and stuff involving children and maybe our siblings and things will be rising to the surface, especially if we've tried to like push them away or we've buried them. Weekend away. In love, of course, it's 50-50 can also be about the relationship, the give and take in the relationship, and an individual's need to be able to both give and receive. We can't just be only the giver. We can't just be only the receiver. That would be out of balance as well. Weekend away could be this weekend. Maybe some of us have a long weekend. We had Friday off. We have Monday off. Different things because of the 4th of July in the United States. And the last one is cocktail. Weekend away doesn't have to mean travel. It can also mean like away from your norm, your typical. So maybe taking a break somehow. It's 50-50 is back. Also, you see the 29 there staring me in the face. The 29 is about spiritual partnership. It says eat cake. We could be celebrating spiritual partnership, maybe anniversaries, weddings. Actually, my son and his girlfriend are celebrating their anniversary tomorrow. And then coming to visit me. So maybe we'll eat some cake. Also, stay in bed. With the cards, we're beginning with Major Arcana card 2, the High Priestess. The High Priestess is a very spiritual card. She is super psychic, intuitive, just knowledgeable, very, very smart. Twos actually represent wisdom and supreme math, and she's got it, right? She is a Gemini or perhaps a water sign in more traditional tarot. And while very spiritual, she has like some serious sex energy, sexual energy. And it can mean that you're in some sort of phase. So this week could be a phase for some of us, or for those watching, that we find ourselves particularly attractive to other people. In this case, in the area of love and romance, like maybe even sexually attracted, and maybe some of us will get into something. There's the High Priestess. The Queen of Pentacles is also upright immediately behind the High Priestess, and she's giving me like some really strong Empress vibes. So it's like the two of them together. Sometimes that can be about like a same-sex relationship, particularly lesbian, with these two very strong women, well, the Empress and the High Priestess. But the Queen of Pentacles could also be showing up here again because of that Ceres transit, the retrograde, because she is an earth mother. She is like the hearth, the harvest, grain, and greenery. So it's very Queen of Pentacles / Empress, the vibe that you get from that Ceres transit too. Just really, really strong feminine energy that's coming from these. So particularly if you're a woman, a female, and or identify as a feminine archetype, you have this power this week. like when it shows up, it's like anybody and everybody can have it, but particularly the feminine energy is going to be super, super strong. And it's a power that can sometimes bite you in the ass. It's like, well, in terms of love, it can be a super like magical and mysterious time, mystical time for love. And, you could really meet somebody that just wows you and you them. And, there's mystery and intrigue to the relationship. It's very, one of those relationships that like really draws you in. 50 shades of something, gray or whatever you're into, right? And people could even be like throwing themselves at you, like really, really trying to get your attention. And again, the problem is that we have the potential to attract both good and bad, energy toward ourselves. And sometimes it's not easy to tell which is which. We have like this really strong feminine energy at our disposal. And it may seem wonderful, on the onset. But again, if you're not sure about with whom you're dealing, or if you're at risk of maybe abusing that power, it can, again, come back and bite you in the ass, and it's very strong. So if you date women or you're romantically attracted to women, whether you yourself are a woman or a man, or, maybe there's other genders that I'm not familiar with that you identify as, regardless of whatever that is. If you are attracted to women, it's possible that with not only this card, but these cards, that you could be, find yourself this week caught up or very much attracted to, drawn to somebody who, at least to you, is like you're perceiving them to be unapproachable, unattainable. And maybe because they have like more money, or they have like a fancier job, or they're super smart, and you're like counting yourself short. You're thinking like you don't measure up. Think about, like, for example, Prince William and what's his wife's name? Kate something, or the other one, Harry and Meghan. Obviously when those women who were, civilians met these royals, with most people, there would be some sort of air of like, what do I have to offer this person? And the thing is, obviously they were able, with not having the same money or stature or, recognition, popularity, all that stuff, not having any of that. Diana too, right? When she met Charles, she was a civilian too. Somehow, something that they had was able to captivate this other person. And so we can't count ourselves out because we feel like, oh, they live in a better part of town than me, drive a nicer car, have a better job, smarter, in terms of book smarts, more educated, older perhaps. And, for that reason, it seems like I can't get that girl, Don't do that to yourself, because again, the energy is so strong that you really do have the ability, and the attraction is real and genuine, and again, highly like sexually charged too. And you really do have the potential to draw in the kind of like raw passion that perhaps you're looking for, whether you're single or couple. But we are guided to pay attention, again, very much to our intuition, our intellect, all the information that we have available to us before we, make any drastic moves or decisions. And that's what the High Priestess is very good at. Again, she is a Gemini or a water sign, and the Queen of Pentacles is a Taurus, Virgo, or Capricorn, or someone likened to those traits or attributes if they're an actual person in your life. It could just be like Venus energy, because actually the next card, it's upside down, but it is Major Arcana card Justice, which is also Venus. Venus rules the signs of Libra, Taurus, and Gemini. A lot of just Major Arcana card energy showing up here. The Sun is also next. So again, something that maybe that you thought wasn't going to turn out well, or doesn't have the possibility to turn out well because you feel like you don't measure up or something, you're wrong about that. So maybe some self-nurturing is required to get yourself up to that level of where you know and like and love yourself enough that you can share yourself with somebody else. With the other deck, oh wow, isn't this funny? Guess what's also upside down behind this card? It's Justice again. I didn't know. I mean, of course I didn't know, but it's just funny. Fair and just decisions. Do what you know is right. Stand up for your beliefs. Again, Major Arcana card Justice represents the sign of Libra and the planet Venus. It is in reverse, so somebody could be out of balance, or you could be feeling out of balance. You could be feeling like this person is here, like the scales are like this. I don't have enough to measure up to this other person. The Page of Winter or Swords is a Gemini, Libra, or Aquarius, or someone likened to those traits or attributes. So far, Libra is potentially very significant to somebody. This is an intellectual challenge that calls upon your ability to think of a matching solution. If helpful information is put to you bluntly, accept the message without being bothered by the messenger. The Princess of Winter, or Page of Swords, again, is an air sign if it's somebody in your life that you know, an actual person, or someone likened to the traits and attributes of an air sign. And when it comes to love, I've talked about like the Queen of Swords as it relates to love before, how she could be in danger of pushing too hard. And the Page is similar. It's since pages bring news, this one brings us news or warns us of potential mild, conflict, not something like too serious, but and warns us about knowing like, when to back off and maybe when to not push, but when to keep going and when to fall back in terms of a discussion. Like many arguments that we could end up having aren't worth having. There's a lot of times where I find myself, and maybe it's as a Page of Swords, as a Gemini with tons of Aquarius energy, also Aquarius moon, and there, so on and so on. I find myself like I'm about to say something in response to maybe somebody's stupid text or post or comment or something. And it's not that I can't hang with the best of them, in person, whether it's verbally or physically, I didn't go to 3 high schools for nothing, but I just decide like not to say anything. I'm just like not in the mood for it to go to an argument. Right. And so this is the kind of thing that the Page of Swords actually warns of. It just reminds us that not every, argument, fight, discussion, even conversation is worth having. Allow yourself any needed or necessary space, and allow your partner that too. It's necessary if you guys are going to be happy and thrive. If we're single, and the Page of Swords is showing up, then it's guiding us, or it's an information, it's a message to get out and mingle if we're interested in meeting people and stuff. It's a reminder that love is not going to necessarily just come banging down our door. Next card was in reverse, so we can get right into it. Actually, I'm feeling with that, and I don't know why I'm feeling the Empress so strongly. Like I looked at the card, I could see that it was the Queen of Pentacles, and I still wanted to say Empress. I was still feeling Empress. So let me just tell you, a combination, if it had been an actual one, maybe because the Empress was our overall energy, or one of the overall energies yesterday in the general. Maybe that's why I don't know. Whatever the case. A combination of a High Priestess and Empress in terms of love could be, again, representative of the actual dynamic, and it might be, like a female on female relationship, and 2 very strong, nurturing, intuitive, sexy, fertile with information, ideas, and, the ability to actually bring another human into the world too. Very strong this week. 2 people like that together. whether it's two women or, it's any kind of combination. Two feminine energies, maybe, even if they're male, right? It's indicative of a very strong and powerful and, again, sexual and sensual and mysterious and mystical and magical connection that is very much guided and driven by the divine feminine. It can be about soulmates, and again, and particularly same gender soulmates. And it also may be a sign of some sort of love triangle, whereas the Empress is unaware of, a secret situationship affair that's going on behind her back, which would be like where the High Priestess comes in. The Empress, much more so than the High Priestess, is like the nurturer, though, who's like saving or creating, because she's known for creating, and threes are about creating too, creating and creation. Like a safe space for this High Priestess, who again is this like the spiritual powerhouse of the couple, and is just very mysterious and deep. I get like a very Neptunian feel, like vibe from her, very deep, and where our most sort of sacred, where we hold our sort of most sacred thoughts and feelings and stuff like that. And so the Empress allows her this, or creates this safe space for her to be her whole and complete self, and to maybe be a little bit vulnerable, and not such this, strong, very strong, and again, powerful feminine energy. Also, last thing I'm going to say about these is that if we've been finding ourselves in a very masculine, dominant energy, and especially if that doesn't necessarily feel us, feel like it's us, like we tend to be more feminine, but lately we find ourselves very again, masculine, action oriented, aggressive, maybe even. This kind of combination also guides us to go ahead and fall back now into that feminine energy, or some of it, maybe for a little bit of balance too. So I just started laying these cards. The divine feminine, the masculine as it relates to the feminine himself, the union as a whole. Overall, what energy the masculine would have the feminine give to the union or connection in terms of love this week. What energy he himself is willing to, what the universe would have each or both of us energy give to the connection this week, and even wants to help us with, but we have to first affirm because we have free will, and the outcome. Divine feminine. It is the freaking Empress. Oh man. Okay, I couldn't make this up if I wanted to. Again, the Empress represents the planet Venus, ruler of the signs of Libra and Taurus, and she is also the esoteric ruler of the sign of Gemini. It's time to hop into action. Use your natural creativity to bring forth prosperity and success in your life. So I think I've gone on at length about what the Empress is. It's representative of a very fertile energy, the energy of creativity, coming up with creative ways to bring about our own abundance. It's a very good time to work on getting pregnant if that's what you're wanting to do. If that's not what you're wanting to do, especially with the Empress and the High Priestess both showing up, you better want to, like wrap it up or whatever you got to do to protect yourself. And she's a nurturer. She's a nurturer. There's an opportunity for something fresh and new to begin, even in existing relationships, a new and fresh phase. and room for growth and expansion. The masculine as it relates to the feminine. And it is beautiful. It is Major Arcana card 17, the star, which represents the sign of Aquarius. So we've seen all the air elements pop up. We saw the High Priestess, which I said was Gemini, Justice twice, which I said represents Libra, and now the star. So that may explain why we began also with a Page of Swords. The star is Aquarius. This is about communication. It can be online dating and other means of technology getting involved in your communication, texting, Skype, Zoom, I don't know, other apps and things that people may use, FaceTime and all that kind of stuff. Happy times, make positive, optimistic, long-term plans. You are on the right path. So it's like about looking forward, dreams and goals moving forward. The masculine as it relates to himself is the Seven of Earth. Seeds well planted. Temporary pause in action, unnecessary worry. So if he looks around, he may feel like nothing's happening. Like, what's taking so long? When am I going to actually successfully manifest something with regard to this relationship or a relationship in general? And the universe is replying like you've already done what you have to do, with the exception of some patience. Now what's left for you to do is to be patient and allow things to unfold. And maybe, this is also a 7. It could be saying like, you're so close. It's this month. It's happening. The 7th month, right? The masculine on the union or connection as a whole. The King of Earth, very nice. King of Pentacles, generous, professional, responsible, and practical. A successful time. Confidently accept opportunities you're offered. You have the Midas touch. And the King of Pentacles, if I can talk, is a super wonderful omen as it relates to love. I know I talk about a lot of cards, meaning that somebody could come along and sweep you off your feet, but this is another one, I'm sorry. And it does guide you to, like, it's the King of Pentacles. Like, put your best foot forward. Don't pretend to be somebody that you're not. So like I was talking about before, I don't know why I was made to bring up the royals and with regular civilians, but it's like, be you. Like they had to impress the royals even by being themselves. They could not try to pretend that they were royals too. They would have been found out and that would have been a turnoff. But being themselves is what worked. Making the best presentation of Megan, making the best presentation of Kate, whatever that means. And so that's what we got to do too with these cards, when these cards come up, right? The person is going to love you and be attracted to you based on the Empress and the High Priestess. Be attracted to you for who you are. Be honest. In your words and in your thoughts and your actions, how you move toward them, everything. Be honest and genuine and everything should fall into place. If you're currently involved with somebody, you already have a relationship, then something should be moving in a more, positive, comfortable direction there too. Again, if you're single, you could be meeting somebody very soon who just, totally wows you. Totally wows you. I was feeling something else for a minute. While I'm... I think I'm going to go back to the 7 of Pentacles for a moment too. Only because I mentioned to you about possible parties of 3, right? Love triangles. The 7 of Pentacles can, at times, mean that the person that you're interested in, right, that you have like your heart set on, is fine. Like they're all well and good. They're not necessarily looking for you. You know what I mean? They may even be like starting a family. Baby could be due any day now. Sometime this month, possibly. Maybe that's why we're celebrating and eating cake. So, of course, that's not going to be for everybody. The first message that I gave is that it's one of patience for the masculine as we, draw nearer to this. But for some involved in love triangles, possibly, very possibly, involving in earth sign, Taurus, Virgo, Capricorn, then this is your situation. You may be pining, you may be trying to recover the relationship, and they may be like very happily and pleasantly moving on with their life, but there's another like soulmate out there for you. Like that wasn't your only one possibility. Overall, the 10 of air, 10 of swords, that's another explanation as to why, again, we began with the page of swords. So some difficult time that we were having is behind us. Again, we can make long-term plans now. There's happy times ahead, right? We should make some positive, optimistic long-term plans. That's why I said that what I just mentioned is, maybe for one or two people, maybe literally for one person that's watching that's involved in some sort of love triangle. But for the most part, this is positive moving forward with the worst of through what we were going being behind us. What energy the masculine would have the feminine give to the union or connection this week is the Knight of Earth. Loyal, dedicated, honorable, and kind. It's time to buckle down and get things done. Honor your commitments. He wants her to stay true to the promise, the soul contract as well. Honor your commitments. You have a guardian angel. The Knight of Earth, or Pentacles, like the King, is a Taurus, Virgo, or Capricorn, or someone likened to those traits or attributes. The Knight of Pentacles is the only one of all the four in the tarot said to always reach his goal. This is dependable, practical, down to earth, grounded. You can really count on this person. But they are sort of methodical to the point that can be what takes time. It's slow and steady wins the race. We're going to do this, but we're going to do it like the right way, even if it takes us all night sort of thing. What energy the masculine himself is willing to give to the union or connection, and it is the Five of Earth. Fears surrounding money, the wisdom to accept help from others. Life is out of balance, and that can lead to uncertain self-employment when we're thinking about like negative things all the time. We're focused. This is a card that's rooted in fear, that's focused on negative emotions, maybe something from your past, from your childhood, some sort of fear onto which you've been holding. It is like fear of rejection, fear of abandonment. And this too can be connected to that Ceres transit, because I spoke a lot about this in the general reading, these sort of fears that I was feeling that people were going to be dealing with during this transit, which lasts for a number of months actually. But yeah, fear of rejection, fear of commitment even, so the masculine working on getting over those things and releasing that. And so, yeah, it's making slow and steady progress, perhaps, but, and it might seem like nothing's actually happening, but, give it some time, a little bit more patience, and things are actually moving forward. In the meantime, you can start planning. You can start planning for the outcome and looking forward to it. What the universe would have each or both of us, what kind of energy the universe would have each or both of us give to the union or connection this week, and even wants to help us with, but we have to first affirm because we have free will, and that is just being happy, right? Being happy, expressing our love for one another, being honest, open with each other. It's time to express your love and appreciation for family, be it relatives or a chosen family of close friends. Congratulations may be in order on a happy, fulfilling marriage, as well as raising happy and balanced children. And the outcome is another High Priestess. Again, she is a Gemini or perhaps a water sign. Cancer, Scorpio, Pisces, listen to your intuition. Have patience and consider carefully what you want before acting. The High Priestess is, again, there's going to be somebody who checks in with her intuition, her intelligence, her intellect, the wisdom, all the information she has available to her, signs, synchronicities, all these things before she decides what her next move is. But she's also super spiritual. She has faith, which is represented by the number 2, and she believes in partnership, and especially a sacred one. And since we saw her again when I was going through the cards in the beginning, I think that this is just also another message as to how easily some of us can meet somebody new this week if we're single and looking, because again, we have this very strong feminine energy of attraction and just sort of exuding femininity this week. I'm going to stick these in. I'm going to shuffle. Actually, I meant to shuffle before I did this, but I guess I wasn't meant to, because I forgot, and look how the cards came out. But if I probably will use this again, so I'm just going to throw these in here one by one, separate places, and then I'll also shuffle them some more if I do use them again. But I want to jump back to these. I'm kind of obsessed with this High Priestess, and who I thought was the Empress, or kept calling the Empress. So I want to see for each element this week what comes up. Last week we had some really positive energy, very strong love energy for every element but Earth. Earth had the 3 of Swords. So let's see what goes on this week. Fire signs. Yesterday I screwed this part up too. I mixed up the fire sign with the earth. Fire signs, Aries, Leo, Sagittarius. Your card is very nice. The Knight of Cups upright. Well, I'm going to repeat myself. I know I say a lot of cards are about getting swept off your feet, but yes, this is another one too. And the Knight of Cups for me is often not only just about getting swept off your feet, but somebody returning from your past. So this can be a specific, ex or something, or somebody to whom you were close. They're returning to your life. Maybe this time around you'll try something romantic and not just a friendship. Also, if you're already in a relationship, this can mean that you're moving toward like the final stages, like, commitment, marriage, which may be another reason why, again, the High Priestess and the Empress showed up, because the Empress it's like that mother energy. It's like the wife, the expensive and dear woman sitting up in her house, lounging. And then the High Priestess is just sort of like the guardian of, the temple. So, you could be moving towards something like a really, whatever the final stage or the next stage of commitment would be for you. If you're, for those of you who are already committed. It's just a positive card. And again, it's important that you're open and honest about like your feelings and those things. I was thinking something, I lost it. I don't know what's wrong with me today. Earth signs. Taurus, Virgo, Capricorn. So, I was just saying, last week you guys had the 3 of Swords upright. This week it is the Tower reversed. The good thing about the Tower reverse is that it's not as intense as the Tower upright, and it doesn't mean a relationship is over or something necessarily. It's just an indication that some work is needed and some communication is needed. And that is another reason, perhaps, that the Page of Swords is one of the cards with which you began. Think positive. If you and your partner are both interested in, preserving the relationship and moving forward, then this is something that can be salvaged and saved. But you're probably... And considering last week's energy with the 3 of Swords, maybe something happened last week that, actually in the moment of last week that was hurtful. And so you've spent the week sort of getting through that. and dealing with the repercussions and consequences of that situation, and are now to a point where you can communicate and talk to each other. And things aren't perfect, but there's still definitely room to, not only salvage, but ultimately save completely the relationship. If you're single and that's showing up, and not only am I going to consider the fact that, like, when I read the Tower, for me, it doesn't have to be a negative card. It can be positive. It can be about being overwhelmed by positivity too. So it's the same thing. It's not as strong as when it's upright, but especially sitting here next to the Knight of Cups, again, you could be meeting somebody very soon and being like a sort of swept off your feet, just like wowed and oh my goodness. How did this happen? How did you like that song, How Did You Get Here? Nobody's supposed to be here. Like, I wasn't looking for a relationship and boom, I'm in love this all of a sudden. Air signs, Gemini, Libra, Aquarius. The Eight of Wands. So the Eight of Wands is a card of communications, right? Wands are about movement. This is like things moving, information flying through the air, right? So you could be receiving something in the mail, package, letter, card. You could be getting a text, an email, something this week, unexpectedly, phone call, all those things. But also, what specifically the Eight of Wands means in terms of love is that you're probably ready for a commitment, air signs. I said it like that because I'm talking to myself too. We're probably ready for a commitment. And unfortunately, it doesn't seem like that commitment is coming. So it's like, I'm ready. Like, where is it now? Again, we have to be very careful because, again, the Queen of Swords energy. So like the air energy, we have the potential to push too hard. We got to be careful not to do that, not to push somebody before they're ready. If it's that masculine from the last spread and he's in that period of patience and calm and he wants us to wait, slow and steady wins the race, then that's how we have to go about it. It may be saying to us during these retrogrades is when we have to wait. For example, Jupiter, ruler of the sign of Sagittarius, and that may be what's connected to these wands, is currently retrograde in Capricorn. So that might be what the Knight of Pentacles was about. Pluto, the ruler of the sign of Scorpio, also retrograde in Capricorn. So that, again, could be what the Knight of Pentacles was about. Saturn's, Capricorn's own ruler, Saturn, is also retrograde there. And now the full moon is there. And the eclipse is there. So there's a lot of stuff going on that maybe that's one of the reasons also why all those earth cards showed up in the last spread to say, give it some time, let these energies, play out and stuff too. So we might be ready, but don't push it. If there's a way that you can distract yourself, get into something else in the meantime, do that. And, I feel that not only could you be meeting somebody or somebody be coming for you, but like an actual, beloved of yours, love interest, ex, whatever, old partner, could be who is coming back to you, sooner rather than later, if you could just chill, right? You just chill and do something else for a minute. It's like, I'm going to get right back to you. And you know what? They're going to be offering you the kind of love that you're wanting. It's going to be this Knight of Cups sort of thing. This, again, swept off your feet, totally unexpected. Tower, kind of like, you giving me all of this? I just wanted you to come back. I've just been missing you. I wasn't expecting all this. But it's going to be the kind of thing that you've been wanting and hoping for and waiting for, possibly connected to the star energy, which again is representative of the sign of Aquarius, the star from the last spread. But it requires us to be a little bit patient and to focus on something else in the meantime, so that we're not just constantly overthinking, which is very possible, for air signs to do. And then we slip into that place where we become pushy. Because now I've overthought it, and now I'm ready for you to do this now, like in my time, and I've turned into a psycho. So just be careful about that. Water signs: Cancer, Scorpio, Pisces. Very nice. the Page of Wands. So this is messages also, and we got the Eight of Wands right next to you. I'm going to use that too. Messages coming toward you guys, just like the way it looks here, right, with these two cards. Messages coming towards you guys. If you're single, it could be a brand new, person that's attracted to you, who's coming your way. That a lot of you guys have a lot in common. Like maybe you're very into things in like action, like risk takers. You like to do stuff, like be physical, and you just have that in common. So you're gonna want to spend time together, like out and about and doing stuff, not just sitting around. They could just sort of like boom, just enter your life. Take a chance with them. Of course, if you're available, if you're single. If you're committed but unhappy, then with this showing up, it's like the time for you to begin deciding whether or not your relationship can or should be saved or salvaged. And maybe setting even like a time frame for yourself as to how long are you willing to work to try to make it happen. And again, the reminder, both parties have to be interested in it working and willing to work on the relationship for it to happen. If your partner's not, then that this page has brought you a message that it's time for you to move on. Remember I said wands are about movement. It's time for you to move on if they're not as interested as you or at all in, continuing to foster the relationship, nurture the relationship, or even, save or salvage it. I'm tempted to see who's coming for the air signs. Four of Pentacles, or what's coming, I guess I should ask. The Four of Pentacles in reverse. So this is a card that's it's like that Five of Pentacles that showed up in the last spread for the masculine, like what he's willing to address this week, what energy he's really willing to give and get into. This is like not only about fear, and I talked about, y'all know how I feel about the Four of Pentacles. I've talked about it and explained my description of it many, many times. So this is the opposite. This is like, now you're ready to deal with that fear and let go of that fear and open yourself up and, again, and be vulnerable. This is what I was talking about a moment ago. Willing to give your relationship, yourself, this person that's interested in you and whom you've been interested, like a real chance, a real fighting chance, despite, the fact that maybe you're normally, you have this fear of commitment or fear of abandonment or fear of rejection or whatever it is, fear that, you're afraid, you're embarrassed that you don't make enough money or as much money, or again, you're not as smart, whatever the case is, because these are all the things that I'm getting. If you're looking for love, so you're single, you're out there ready to mingle and stuff, it's telling you to not let fear of rejection, keep you from finding it. It's telling you to get out, which is the same thing I just told you, or told us, air signs, with the Eight of Wands. It's saying it's a confirmation or a reconfirmation of the fact that we just got to let go and get out there. Have some fun, have an open mind, be open to meeting somebody, and you very likely will. Maybe I'm going to try again, because sometimes I get greedy. I was wanting to know who is coming. Oh boy. I don't know when to quit sometimes. So Judgment is another one of these cards that could be saying, we might be in like this make or break period in a relationship. And it's just time to get very clear about what we want and to release any fears that we have about getting it, and then take the steps that we need to take, that we know we need to take toward having it. Similarly, again, if you're thinking about, if you're looking for a new relationship, you're single, whatever, there's action steps, there's movement, wand stuff that you have to do in order for it to happen. And that's letting go of the fear and stuff. And just being careful about, judging yourself or any sort of love interest or whatever. And that would mean, again, saying I'm not good enough, I don't make enough money, I'm too, whatever. Avoid all that kind of stuff. And more positive, no, in general, for me, judgment is about abundance that it's earned. So it's, goodness and stuff that's coming to you, to us, but requiring us to first take action, right? It's abundance that's earned. So you have to earn it by taking the action, by doing the work, right? Okay. All right. I was going to say this is the last one. They're not telling me what I'm looking for to know anyway. Except for maybe it is a wand, a fire sign kind of energy that's going to come for you. But, the Ace of Wands is another card that says, yes, there's love out there for you, but it's probably like delayed or something. Can also be for some people a birth of a child. And since we just saw the Empress a few times and the High Priestess, again, that can be something for somebody. And it can be about getting pregnant too. And just so that's like I said, if you're not ready, if you're not looking to get pregnant or to get somebody pregnant, then you may want to take some sort of precautions or something. Also, this card can be like a look before you leap, think before you speak kind of card. It's warning of potential misunderstandings that could come up, unnecessarily. Same thing like the Eight of Wands. All right, I give up. They're not going to tell me what I wanted to know. I'm going to pull one more. All right, I really give up now. We got to be patient. Again, we got to be patient. And for some of us, or one or two of us perhaps that's watching this, again, if we have a particular love interest in mind, like things are going well for that person, so they're not really necessarily coming to us right now, thinking about us right now. If you're in a committed relationship when the Seven of Pentacles shows up, it's just, I mean, if you're not in a committed relationship, when it guides you because you're focused on this one person, it guides you to maybe open yourself up to other possibilities. And again, reminds us that that person that you were so hard focused on isn't the only person. All right, I'm really going to stop and end the reading now. All right. I don't know why I'm in such a silly mood and why I keep trying to find out something that they're clearly not willing to tell me. It's like very moon energy. And today is the full moon. It's very much a moon energy. Like there's stuff you're not going to know. There's stuff we're not going to reveal yet. And that's it. Again, so we've come full circle. We have the Empress here again, which is representative of two of these air signs, Libra and Gemini, in addition to Taurus. So, I was just talking about having a baby and stuff. So again, yeah, we're super fertile this week, air signs. So again, if you're not looking to have a child, be careful. Let's see what else they have for us in the form of advice, since I couldn't get what I was trying to do. Wait a minute. Now they're showing up upside down. So they're really like, will you just stop? I want to find a card from each deck. Okay, further advice to the masculine. It's the moon. How funny is this reading today? I was just saying, I feel very moony. Yeah, well, here's the moon, Major Arcana card 18. And it's funny because the moon hadn't come up yet, and I hadn't even thought about it. But I've mentioned many times that I don't do a reading at the time of like a major moon transit like this, a full moon or a new moon, where the moon doesn't show up in the reading. It's never happened. The moon, Major Arcana card 18, represents the planet Neptune in the sign of Pisces, which it rules most directly, but can be tied to the other water signs as well, Scorpio and Cancer. In fact, Earth's moon, like an actual moon in the sky, rules the sign of Cancer. Important psychic insights, events behind the scenes, release fears that hold you back. So I think that's the overall message, or the strongest one, because that's come up a few times. And it's another Page of Swords. And we had this one here we started with. We got another one for the feminine. Page of Swords or air is logical, honest, impulsive, and curious. Challenging information. Delays, right? So we're going to have to wait. Delays or changes to plans, and truth delivered without tact. again, don't push too hard. If something's not falling into place, chill and let it happen. Masculine, there's some sort of decision you have to make, or you got to narrow down some options. Maybe these are all the people that are attracted to you this week, and you're trying to, do the pros and cons and pick one. It's time to stop procrastinating and to make a decision so that you can move forward with a priority. If you need to do more research, then do so, but don't overthink the situation. Listen to your heart. I was just talking about that overthinking. And lastly, how funny is this? Because the card that I picked up, and I said, okay, let me cut it out now. It's the Queen of Cups. Queen of Cups, she is compassionate, loving, giving, and psychic. This is a time of deep emotions and heightened intuition that you can trust completely. Be mindful that you don't ignore your own needs while caring for others. And that's really going to be super important to remember. We can not only, can we not afford to ignore our own needs, but we can trust these energies completely. Like when the King of Pentacles shows up representing your union or connection, if that's an actual person that you come into contact with this week, you can trust the King of Pentacles. And again, even if he is, more popular than you, he is, bigger, taller, stronger, has more money, has a better job, owns his own company, it's a big house, whatever the case is, you can trust that he's keeping it real with you. But of course, specifically in terms of love, the Queen of Cups is a super positive card, like probably one of the most positive that you could even get in the deck. And she's another one that tells you to like get out there and mix it up and mingle. Now that could be difficult. I know I haven't mentioned COVID this whole reading, and some areas are reclosing, so it's crazy. But to the extent that you're able to, mix it up with other people, then do so. And maybe that's why, again, the star showed up, because the star can be about like online dating and stuff like that. So maybe we're talking to people virtually and things and sending pictures and videos and stuff like that instead of actually meeting them in person or using some sort of dating site or something. But similar to what I talked about with the Queen of Swords, what it's important to remember with the Queen of Cups is that we could get carried away, similarly like how the Queen of Swords can get carried away with, the logic and the communication and this happened, so now this has to happen and whatever, like the structure kind of it. The Queen of Cups can get carried away with love. So it's important to like keep your, yourself balanced and open and not to just, go overboard, because that could be a turn off too. Even with the excitement of like brand new love, it's important to try to like keep things, on track and naturally flowing in an organic way. That brings me to want to say something to the masculine too about the Seven of Cups. So we saw this energy, and several times over we kept seeing the Empress and everything like that. And some of you may even be air signs, and so maybe you're dealing with all this energy here that I pulled. You might have a lot of choices. You might be the man, right? And maybe not normally, but this week you are, or whatever the case is. Again, it's super important to be like honest and upfront about what it is you want, or, if you don't want a relationship, like don't pretend that you do. And maybe don't, fail to use protection with somebody that you don't want to have a child with. Because if pregnancy does occur, it's kind of up to the mother to decide what she's going to do, and she may not have the same plans or idea as you in terms of what to do. Beware of falling in love with like the excitement of it all rather than an actual person. Even like soulmate relationships and, the twin flame relationships, because that was a heavy energy with the general yesterday too, fall into like a comfort zone. You get comfortable or whatever, and you lose that, like the romance, that honeymoon phase and that rush that you feel doesn't last forever. So it's important for you to not fall in love with that. Make sure that you're actually falling in love with the person if we're going to go that route. All right. I think I've given you every possible scenario for these cards. I hope you guys have enjoyed the love reading. I'm going to go get to the moon reading and shuffle some different cards for that one. If you enjoyed this reading, please do give it a thumbs up. Consider becoming a subscriber if you're not one already by hitting both the subscribe button and the bell button, commenting, sharing, all of that. I do appreciate it. Namaste.